submit. Are we having any difficulty with that particular area? I want to know. So put it in the chat box. I want to know if you're having difficulty with it. Also, since Tuesday is supposed to be our, what's the word now? Our revision and assignments, whatever. Should we do the revision for last class today, like take more practice question, or we should move to the next function? So also put that one in the chat box so that I would know. I'll follow with whichever one we do. If we understand it very well, then we can move to the next one. But if you need us to do a revision, okay, I have one person revision. If you want us to do revision and practice question, you can also, I need all of us response. So at least I need, just drop it in the chat box. Okay, Juma, you want to speak? You can mute your mic.
Good evening.
Good evening.
Yes, thank you. I didn't stay for the last class. I didn't stay till the end. My connection was lost, so I didn't know how to like connect back. And I would like to ask if it's possible, like the YouTube links that you normally drop for the videos.
Yeah.
I don't know if you can do it in a way that we can download, so that if you want to watch again, we won't have to like use up data again. I don't know if it's possible.
Yeah, I think for YouTube videos to download it, you would probably, except you are using IDM, yeah, and or if you are using YouTube mobile on your mobile phone, you can download on your mobile phone.
Okay.
But if it's on laptop, you need to use a third-party app to download it.
Okay. All right. Thank you very much.
Yeah. Okay. Yemi Adetunji, you said only and statement and statement left. Yes, you can share your screen. Okay, so let's start from there. Share your screen. Although I have more practice questions you are going to do. So you can share your screen. Let me see what you are talking about.
Okay, good evening, everybody. Can you hear me?
Yes, you are loud and clear.
It's okay. Just give me a second to share my screen. Please, can you let me in? I'm using another system.
Are you able to share your screen?
That's what I'm trying to do. Yeah.
Okay, I can see your screen now.
All right, okay. So I didn't have enough time. That was why I was unable to drop. Oh.
Okay.
I think I'm echoing or something. Is it okay now?
Continue. Yes, I can hear you.
Okay. So, hello, can you hear me now?
Yes, you are loud and clear.
Okay. So I didn't have enough time to finish the homework. That was why I didn't drop it.
Okay.
That was why I didn't drop it.
Are you having issues with enhanced statements?
Yes. So I think maybe I might do that after the class. But the one I did now is sorry. This one is the score. So after the score, yes. I was able to grade them. And this is what I used as my grading. I used greater than 70, outstanding, excellent, good, and
Okay.
all that. So that was how I was able
Okay.
to achieve this one here.
The grading, okay.
Yes, the grading. So I didn't go for pass fail. I just did outstanding, excellent, fail, and average. Then for the
Okay.
all statement, what I did was that if you are outstanding, excellent, and average and good, you are promoted.
Okay.
If you are fail or pass, if you are fail or pass, then you are not promoted. That's for the
Okay.
all statement. So I'm in the
Okay.
process of doing the and statement,
And
which
statements, okay.
yes, which I'm still on. I don't know if I'll be able to complete it, but I just because I understand it, it's just for me to now
Implement it. Okay, and there's no
implement
problem.
it or particularize it.
All
So
right, there's no
this is what
problem.
that's why I've not been able to drop my assignment. So I can
All
stop
right, no
sharing
problem.
right now, Abby.
Yeah, you can. Yes.
All right. Thank you.
So I've only seen two or let me say three hands that said we should do revision. So I need to know what others think. Should we do a revision, a recap of last class for today, or we should move to the next topic?
Good evening, everyone.
Good evening, sir.
Yes, sir. In my case, I've not been able to practice because I've been choked up with work.
Okay.
Try yesterday, I was very busy. Today as well, so I've not been able to practice at all. But when you were teaching, I totally understand it. So I believe when I practice, I'll be able to. But for me, anyone is fine. Either you go to the next class or revision. But for me, I know that when I go over it again to watch, I'll be able to get it.
Okay, thank you. Ayodele Paul, I'm waiting for your response. And I think Barry, I'm waiting for Barry's response too. I think those are the two people I'm still waiting for their response. So I think Juma already said that we should do a revision. So I'm going to revise. Okay. Yeah, you can mute your mic, Jenny.
Thank you. For me, what I would advise is that as much as we want to keep doing revision, it's down for people to actually particularize it. And then you have to state where exactly you do not understand. Because if you keep doing this revision, you might not be able to forge ahead. Then I will probably advise maybe you have a class. Yeah, maybe you have a private class, or maybe you can like if you give us access to come into your DM.
So the reason I'm actually thinking of revision is because our Tuesday class is supposed to be a revision class in actual sense. And because we did not hold the class on Sunday, Sunday was supposed to be the actual class, then Tuesday is supposed to be a revision class. So that's what I'm thinking. Maybe we should just do, because as much as I want to take the class and move forward, I mean, I have everything already set. It also does not make sense if we have a class and people don't understand totally like what we are doing. The core goal of the class is to be able to understand everything, like understand every concept very, very well. And I understand that for some people, it's like probably their first time even having to deal with Excel. It's different for someone who has probably at one point or the other make use of Excel before. So that is why. So I think I'll just do a revision. I have more practice question. I was checking my Google Sheets and I found out a particular file that has some practice questions. So I'm going to make use of that. And if we are able to like go beyond that too, then it's all fine. Then we would also move to the next. The next thing we are to do is lookup functions. And that can also be very, very tricky. So I am just going to So I'm just going to walk around all of this exercise. Yes, I think all of this exercise. So let's start with the logical functions. So I'm just going to walk around this and see how far we can go before the next class. I will try to share the link to this file. So in our spare time, you can download it. It has as much as possible practice questions that we can make use of. So yeah, so I'm just going to rush through because it's something we've done before. So I'm just going to rush through the practice. So for this logical statement, we have these people. And can you see my screen, please? I want to be sure my screen is visible. My Excel screen now. Just let me know in the chat if you can see this. Okay, good. Okay, so yeah, so we have these people that we have their name and the amount they spent, and the threshold is $1,000. Expenses over the following amounts must be approved. So any expense that is above $1,000 is approved. Anyone below is disapproved. So we are going to use if statements, like I said. So our logical test is if this is greater than, because it is over, so it has to be greater than this, what we have here. We will have to make this a absolute reference because we want to reference just this cell. So if it is true, approved. If it is not true, not approved, or whatever you want to put there, and then press enter. And then I just double click this to reproduce the same formula. As you can see, not approved, approved, not approved because 1,000 is not greater than 1,000. If it is 1,001 now, it will be approved. So yeah, so here we have it. So these are the conditional statements: equals to, greater than, less than, greater than or equals to, less than or equals to, not equals to. That is, for not equals to, for example, now, if what we want is, if B is, let's say, if this one is not equals to this, then approve it. We'll see what happens now. So we can see only this one is not approved because 1,000 is actually equal to 1,000. So for every other one that is not equal to it, that is directly equal, it's going to be approved. So that is what the not equals to, that is what that particular function, that is what it does. So yeah. So the next one, we have a pass mark of 85. So anybody that scores above this passes. If this is greater than this, let me just put greater than or equals to this. So like I said, make it an absolute reference, then pass, and if not, fail. Yeah. So for this one, this is another if statement. If the weight is 30, if the weight is 30, there is a extra cost of 20%. Like that is, there is a shipping fee for any weight greater than or equals to 30. So if the weight is not greater than or equals to 30, it's going to return the normal price. But if the weight is greater than or equals to 30, there is going to be a shipping fee. So how are we going to go about this? If this weight is greater than or equals to 30, if it is greater than or equals to 30, now let's see what the value would be. Then it means the shipping fee, is going to be 20%. That is this times 20%. That's going to be the shipping fee. But if it is false, it is just going to be no shipping fee. Or let's assume that we want to add the shipping fee. We want to know what the total price will be. That is the shipping fee with the actual price. The shipping fee with the actual price. So it means this is the shipping fee percent, then plus this amount. Then it means for the ones that, sorry, it means for the one that it is false, for the one that it is false, it is going to retain this price. What I did here is, if this price, if this weight is greater than or equals to 30, then if it is true, then there's going to be a shipping fee attached to it, which is going to be 20% of the price. That is, it now means that the total price would be the 20% plus the actual price. But if it is false, if it is less than the weight, then we are going to have the normal price. So, as you can see, this one is less, this one is more. So it means we will have a 20% increment in cured, and this will be the new price. This one is same amount. So of course, it means there will be a 20%. This one is less, retain the same price. This one is less, retains the same price. So we are using AND statement here. If test 1 is greater than this or equals to this, and test 2 is greater than or equals to this, then the person passes. So if test 1, if this is greater than, we are going to use AND statement. If this is greater than or equals to this, remember, you are going to have to use an absolute reference, and test 2 is greater than or equals to this. Then close this. So if true, pass. If false, fail. So we can see 93 greater, 80 greater, pass. 65 greater or equals to same. 65 greater, it did not meet up with the first cutoff mark, but it met up with the second cutoff mark. It's going to be fail because it didn't meet up with the two. The same thing for this one. Only meet up with one and not the second one. Meet up with the two, didn't meet up with any of the two at all. That's how AND statement works. Here we are using an OR statement, so we are going to use if or we're going to use an OR statement if this is greater than or equals to this. Or if this is greater than or equals to this. Pass. Okay. Yeah, because this just needs one of the conditions to be met. We can see that for this one, it's only one of the conditions, which is the second one, but we still have a pass. The only time it fails is when neither of the two conditions are met. And that is how if a nesting if with AND, a nesting if with OR statements, that is how it works. I'm going to share this with us so that we can also work with it on our own. So let's go to the next one, which is nested ifs. If statements. So for this if statements, so we have a job rating, and there is a bonus for each of these job rating. So we are going to be making use of ifs in this case. So this is how we are going to, like I said, for ifs, it means we are trying to test more than one condition, and I will show us how that works now. So for any of these job ratings, this is the bonus for each of these job ratings. So this is how we go about it. If the logical test 1, which is the first test, if this is equals to this, we have to make sure that this is absolute, because we don't want the reference to shift away. So if this is equal to this, then if the value is true, then this is the bonus. If the value is true, okay, I'm trying to write a text. I shouldn't be writing a text. If the value is true, then this is the result. I'm going to make this fixed. Second logical test, we are also testing if this equals to, because we have multiple things we want to test for. If this equals to this, then if true, if the value is true, then the bonus will be 100. Third logical test, if this is equals to this, then make sure you are making it an absolute reference, because if you make mistake of not making it an absolute reference, you most likely have the wrong answer. So if the value is true, we would have this absolute. Next one, if this equals to this, if it is true, we have this. Then if this equals to this, if it is true, we have this. So what I've just done with the if statement is that we are comparing all of the conditions, each of the conditions. So if this job rating, it will first check based on the first if it is equal to 1. If that's the answer, it's going to return 0. If that's not the answer, it will move to the next if statement. If 2, then 100. It will check that one too. If it is not the one, it will move to the third one until it gets its actual value. So we are going to press yes, and then just double click this to have a result. So you can see this is returning dash because this is 0. In actual sense, this is 0. It is returning 0. Then this is 1.5 for grade 4. You can see 1.5 for grade 5. This should actually return, for grade 5 should actually return 50,000. It means there's an error somewhere. If this equals to G4, okay, there's an error somewhere. Oh, okay, yeah. The reason I got the wrong answer is I was referencing the same thing twice. I'm trying to see G8, J8, yep, J7, J6, J5, okay, equals to this. Then the response should be this, okay. I see where the problem is. I wrote key 5 instead of key 4. So double click again. There's an error here. I'm trying to debug this. Before. Okay, let me try to, I'm sorry. Let me try to do the other end. This equals to, let me start from it. Okay. The error is because I arranged it from bottom up instead of from top to bottom. That's where the error is. That was why this one was returning 1.5 instead of the actual value. Yeah. So yeah. So I'm supposed to do it from the highest to the lowest, not from the lowest to the highest. Yeah. So you can see the results for each now. For each grading, job rating 1, 0, job rating 4, 1.5 bonus, job rating 5, a 3,000 bonus, job rating 3, 900 bonus, job rating 2, 100 bonus, as you can see. So that is how nested if, that is how it works for nested ifs. Yeah, so I'm going to move to the next one. There's one I saw, no, not this one. Count if, yeah. Okay, yes. So this one is for count if, sum if, count if and average ifs. So for this criteria, the first one is they want a total sales for micro world. That is, we want to check for micro world here and then return the total sales only for micro world. So we are just going to use sum if. Can you still see my screen, please? Please unmute your mic. I want to know if my screen is still visible.
Can see it now.
Yes. Yes, you can see.
Okay. So yeah, I'm going to make use of sum if. For sum if, the first thing is what range? What is the range I want to check? So I want to check this range, this company range. So another thing you must also take note of is that if you pull a range, say I start counting my range from this place, any other time I want to pull another range, it must also be within that that range form. Like what I mean is we are pulling a range from B6 to B17. When we are using it, we also have to, when we are using our sum range, it should also align with the range we are using in most cases, like in most cases of what we want to do. So our range is from B6 to B17. That is where it should look for micro world. what is the criteria? That is, what is he looking for? He's looking for microword, so I can just select this as the criteria. Then the sum range, that is the area, the range I want it to sum up, which is going to be this range. So what I've just done is that look for every company that is microword, that is from this range, from this company range, look for microword and sum up only for microword. That is only for microword. I only want to know the total sales for microword. And that is what we have here. This is only the sales for microword. This is only the sales for microword. So the next thing is, we want to look for the total sales for sales rep at microword. That is not only microword in this case, we also want to know for microword that is a sales rep. So in this case, we'll be using some ifs, because we have two if functions that we are trying to, we have two conditions that we are trying to sum up. So some ifs, that's what we are going to be using. So sum range, which is the range we are going to sum up, this range, that's the first thing. Criteria range 1, that is the first criteria, which is this range, the company range, the criteria, microword. Criteria range 2, which is the second criteria that must be met, this, and then the criteria is sales rep. Assuming these are not written, I will have to use the double quotes and write out the actual text. But because I already have it in a box, I just need to click the box and it's the same thing. So I'm pressing enter. It means for, let me put $1 here. So it means for total sales in microword is 44,953. But total sales for sales rep in microword is now 3,040. So the next thing is we now have three criteria: microword, sales rep, and then the total sales they make is more than 7,000. So we only want to add up those that had total sales more than 7,000. So it's going to, we are still going to use the same sum ifs, some criteria, some range rather. The first criteria is this, and then this is their company. The second criteria is range rather is this, and then this is their sales rep. The third criteria range is this, and then the criteria is that must be greater than 70. Let me see if this is going to work. Greater than 70. Yes, it works. So for sales rep that works in that works in microword, that made a sales more than 7,000, the total sales is just 739. So let's check. Let's see. Microword sales rep. No, this is microword sales rep less than 7,000. Microword sales rep more than 7,000. So this is the 790. And microword sales manager, no. So that's the only manager. That about what's it called now? About some ifs. I'm using this formatting because I want to bring the same formats into this box. So the next one is we want to count number of employees that work at Computer Tech. So this one is simple. Count if the range you want to count is here, and then the criteria is just this. We don't need dollar here, so I need to remove these formats, clear formats. Yeah. So maybe let me just use red. Okay. So red and gold. So let me copy this format here and copy this format here. Okay. So here we want to count computer tech, and is also a sales rep. So Countifs is what we are going to be using here. Countifs. Criteria range 1, which is company. The criteria is this. Criteria range 2, job sales manager. Since what we are counting, sales manager, since what we are doing is just counting. Okay, it means I made a mistake in this one. So this is what I should count. Shouldn't be F6. Is someone speaking?
Yeah, what you were working on was not displaying before.
It's not visible.
It's visible now, just now.
Okay. Okay. Yeah. So enter. It means we only have 3 managers, 3 sales managers that work in Computech. Yeah. So lastly, we want to check Countifs. We are still going to use the Countifs. Countifs, criteria range 1, which is this. Company, this. Range 2, sales manager. Criteria, this. Range 3, which is the total sales, is less than, the criteria is if it is less than 9,000. And we have only 2 Computech sales manager that made the total sales less than 9,000. So the final one is average if, which is the average. So in this case, just like Sumif and Countifs, we also have average if. So we are going to use average ifs. No, average if rather. Average if. So the range Computech, the criteria Computech, the average range. We want to know the average sales for Computech, and then we have our answer. So yeah, we want to know the average range for Computech that is also a sales rep. So we are going to be using average ifs because we have more than one condition. Average ifs. Okay, you are raising your hand. Unmute your mic, please.
Yes. Please. When you say you're looking for the average range, what do you mean by that exactly? Is it the average of the total sales or what?
Yes, the average of the total sales. So it's going to be, in this case, it's going to be the average of the total sales for that company.
For Computech.
Yes.
Okay, then the second one is the average of the total sales for Computech and then for the sales rep.
Sales rep. Yes.
Okay. Thank you.
Yeah. So average, if the average range, this is the average range, what we want average for. This is the average range. Then the next thing is now criteria range 1, which is Computech. Criteria is criteria range 2, which is sales rep, and this is the criteria, and this is the average if the company is Computech and their sales rep. So did we understand all of this? I think that should be okay.
Yeah. Good evening, sir. Good evening, everyone. I think your network is kind of lagging behind because what you're saying is not actually what is displaying. So I think there's a network lag that is making your screen not to show.
Oh, interesting. Then I think I need to change my network. I am sorry about that. So is it fine now? Is my network moving with the mouse or whatever is on the screen now?
Yes.
Oh,
Yes, I think it's a.
oh, okay. Juma, you said you don't understand. Which part exactly don't you understand? You said you don't understand, so I want you to unmute your mic and let me know.
Okay. I don't really know you are getting the average. And when you say the micro world and the computer, are you adding everything together? Like, I'm kind of lost.
Okay, so this is what the sum if, this is what it does. For sum if, it works based on an if condition. So there is a criteria, sum the total sales if the company is micro world. That is, normally the total sum, if we do the total sum here, we have the total sum. We just need to do sum, and then we have the total sum. But in this case, we only want to do the sum if the company is micro world. That is, the only thing we want to sum is we want to sum this, we want to sum this because it is micro world, we want to sum this because it's micro. That is, sum up only those ones that are micro world, leaving out the remaining ones. So the second one, it sums up for company if the company is micro world and the job title is sales rep. That is, it's just like when we are using and condition. That is, these two conditions has to be met. Then the actual details of those two conditions is what it adds up. So it checks through this place, checks for micro world, and also checks for micro world that it is sales rep. So it means it's going to add for this one. Let me put a link here. It's going to add for this one, micro world sales rep. It's going to add for this one, micro world sales manager, no. Micro world sales manager, no. Micro world sales manager, no. So it's only going to add for these two because it is micro world and also sales rep. Those two conditions. The third one is three conditions, micro world sales rep, and it also has to be greater than, that is, their sales has to be greater than 7,000. So it means it checks these two. Okay, we have two. Which of them has sales, total sales greater than 7,000? It is just this. Assuming this is also there, it's going to add up these two. So that is what the sum if, that's what it does. The sum if is just for singular condition. The sum ifs is for multiple condition, that is two conditions with two criteria. Then we also, so I mean more than one, condition rather. So let me go over it again. I'll go over it here as fast as possible. So sum if rather, sum if the range you want to check for. So this is the range you want to check for. You click this range from B6 to B17. And then the criteria you want to check for, which is the micro world. And then the sum range. The sum range is the range you want to sum. The range you want to sum, that is the sum range. So it checks and then add up, and then you have an answer. So for sum if, let me do for this final sum if, the third one. Sum ifs, for sum ifs, you select sum ifs. The first thing for sum if is that you look for the sum range. This is the sum range. Then the next thing is the criteria one you want to check. The criteria one is this company, and the criteria is micro world. The criteria two range is this sales rep, and this is the criteria. The criteria three is the sales, and then this is the criteria, that is sales greater than 7,000. That is how we're able to get that answer. So it is the same for counts if and count ifs, is the same for average if and average ifs. So for count if, it checks that criteria and count. For average if, it checks that criteria and average based on the total number of that criteria. So we have Computech that is 4. So it's going to be summing based on that 4. So instead of summing based on the total that we have here, that is if you count everything, we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. I mean, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. It's not going to be averaging based on 12. It will be averaging based on the number of microwards. So if we have 4 microwards, it will be averaging the sum of those 4 microwards. So for Computech that it is sales, if it's just 2, it will be averaging divided by 2. The sum of the total sum divided by 2. I think that should be understandable now. Is it? Is it understandable now? For those that did not get it the other time. Okay, Yemi, you are raising your hand.
Yes,
Can you?
please.
Okay.
Okay, can you hear me? I've unmuted. Can you hear me, please?
Yes, I can hear you. I can hear you.
Okay. So my first question about the criteria is do I know that
You are skipping. You are skipping. I can't hear you very well. I'm struggling to hear you. Maybe you try to type.
Hello, can you
Okay,
hear me
I can hear you now. Yes, I can hear you now.
I think my network was lost. So the question I was asking is that criteria, you pick the first criteria as computer, the company, then you pick the second criteria as the job title. So at what point do I know that this is the one I'm supposed to pick as my first criteria? Or it doesn't matter, I can decide to pick the job title as first and make the company second.
Yes.
Number one question.
Okay.
My number two question. Number two question is, I want you to recap on why you decide to make that this thing an absolute reference. Why did you?
Okay, the other one I was doing. Do you mean the other one I was doing, right?
Yeah, the other one.
Okay, okay. Just those two questions.
Use it.
Okay, just those two questions.
Yes, please.
Okay. Any other one? Any other person with question? Any other person? Another person with question. Okay, so let me first answer your first question. So since it is sum if there is no arrangement of your criteria, the only thing that you must always note is that you must not give say Computech range criteria to sales manager criteria. What I mean by that is you must not select company range and go and select this as the criteria. No, it means for every criteria range you are selecting, you have to make sure that you are selecting its actual equivalent criteria. So if I select this criteria one now, this criteria range now, I selected company. If I now select sales manager as the criteria, there's going to be a problem. It's going to count 0 because I've actually made a mistake. Because if it checks this range, if it checks this company range, it's not going to see anything that looks like sales manager in this company range. So it has already defeated the first purpose. So the second purpose will also be 0. So you have to make sure that you align the actual range with its equivalent criteria. So, and it does not matter how you arrange it. So let me just show us that it does not matter now. Say for example, I select job title first, job title criteria range, and I select sales manager, then I select company, then I select Computech. It's still the same thing. Based on that criteria, the only thing that will just happen is to check the first one first. After checking that one, it will now check the second one and then give a result. So that is that. Did you understand it now? You get me?
Yes, I did. Thank you.
Okay, so I am going to go to the other one. Okay, Mr. Emmanuel, you have a question. I'm listening.
All right, please. That's less than 7,000. Sorry,
yeah,
greater than 7,000 and less than 9,000 naira.
Yeah.
Based on the total sales column.
Yes.
Is it that it is after you have highlighted the whole column, then you now click on less than 9,000,
yes,
right?
Yes. You highlight the total sales because the range is also a criteria. So it's going to check per each range and check the one that is equivalent to based on the previous instructions.
Command.
Yes. Say for example, if our sum if now, let's say if our sum if is just a singular range, that is, this is our range criteria. We are using our total sum as the range criteria. And we are using this criteria that for each one that is greater than 7,000, then sum range, we are still going to call that same sum range again. So the first range criteria is just to check if what we have is 7,000. I don't know if you get that.
Okay. Click on it first, then click on the
so for
criteria,
this one,
then go back to it.
I use this total sales to do the range.
Yes, that's the first one. To do the range, yes. Then the H8.
The criteria is now the greater than 7,000. So it is going to check for each one that is greater than 7,000, and that is what is going to sum up, which is the sum range. So this is still our sum range. So it's going to check to see the ones that are greater than 7,000, and then now add up the ones that are greater than 7,000. Did you get it now?
Okay, yes, very well. Thank you.
Any other question? Okay, so let me quickly explain the previous one. I think it's nested. Is it nested? Is it? No. Okay, yes. So why I needed to use an absolute reference is because by the time I start shifting, the reason for absolute reference is by the time you start shifting from cell to cell, I want this to still be based on this. That is, so when I was doing this, I wrote ifs. Let me just do this again. If the logical test, that is job rating, I wanted to check if it is equal to 5, then I made this an absolute reference. Then if true, then I wanted to return this, and I made this an absolute reference. So let me just end it at this and just explain. So what this is checking is that it will check. The reason I did not make this an absolute reference is because I want to be able to move this down. And when I'm moving it down, I want it to move to the next level. That is, at this point, I'm checking for G2. So it checks G2. It checks if G2 is equals to this job rating. If it is equals to this job rating, it will give this response. If I did not make it an absolute reference, by the time I move down, it is also going to now move it down again. So it is now going to check this based on the next one instead of checking for this actual one. What I want it to check for is to check for actual 5. So since I'm not hard coding it, that is, I'm not putting the value, say, for example, assuming I am saying if G2 equals to 5 now, I don't need to put an absolute reference. If G2 equals to 5, return 3,000. I don't need to put, it's because I did not write the other ones. I don't need to put an absolute reference because I'd written the actual hardcore But if I'm representing it with any cell so that it does not keep moving up and down, I have to make it an absolute reference. So you make a particular cell an absolute reference because you want the value you are selecting, you want it to be logged up on that particular value and that particular value only. That is the value in that cell and the value in that cell only. So that is why we have what's it called? We have absolute reference. Did you get it now, Yemi?
Yes, I did. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Okay, so is there any other person with question? Okay, yes. Unmute your mic, Sam. You can unmute your mic, Sam.
Right, all right, sir. So the reason is giving you NA. You said it's because you didn't write the remaining one, right?
Yes. So if I write the remaining one, this NA is an error code. I'm going to explain.
Yeah, I know. So it means that, sorry, so it means that you need to write all the criteria from 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, right?
So let me try to see if the reason is giving me, I'm coming. Let me write another second test, maybe because it's a single logical test. Let me check. Equals to 4, and then the value should be 1, 5. Let me check now. Okay, let me now move it to, okay, yes. Yes, it's because the actual condition for this is not there. So that's why it's giving NA.
Okay, I guess.
Yes.
All right.
So I am going to teach us how to fix this now. So let's say, for example, in this particular case, we have, so let me just double click this down. That's the next thing I was going to explain. So we have this and we have NAs across board. This NA now, if you are trying to do a calculation, maybe we eventually want to sum up salary plus the bonus now. It is going to be a problem for us because there is an NA and it's not going to be able to sum up the NA. So this is how you take care of NAs. There is something called if error or if NA. You check equals to if, you see if NA, you also see if error. So if NA, in this case, I think if error and if NA should work, but okay, this particular error code is NA. So how if NA works is that, so the actual value, if it is not NA, that is the actual result it should give without NA should be true. Let's say, for example, the actual result it should give is true. Then if there is NA, like we have here, what we want it to return? False. I don't know if you get me. So if the actual, so I'm going to explain that. I'm going to explain that now in this case. So the way it works now in this case is that we are going to copy all of this. I'm just going to cut it. I'm not going to copy it. So because of NA, we'll now select if NA. So the actual value, if it is not NA, should be the actual formula. So we are going to paste the actual formula, that is the actual if whatever, the actual formula. Then the value I want it to return if there is NA. The value I want it to return if there is NA is 0. So if it checks, this is the actual formula, it's going to run this actual formula. If the actual formula is not the answer, if what it returns is NA, instead of returning NA, it is going to return 0. Please, am I clear? Like, do you understand that logic?
Yes, I do. Yes, I do.
I want everybody to respond, please. I want to be sure I'm not saying gibberish here. Yeah?
Please,
so is that like, what do you say?
What's NA? Because I just checked
is not available. You can just say it's going to show the error code. It's going to write it in the error code if you check.
It's a function.
No, it's not a function. It's a result of when you write something. I'm going to explain further now. I'm coming. So if I press enter, you would see this has returned a 0. In actual sense, this dash is a 0. You can see now that we have an addition. So instead of since it is NA, instead of returning an NA, it is returning the actual salary. So if it is NA, just return 0. And then with that, you can add up. So for NA, you will see it here. A value is not available to the formula or function. So it means the value we presented is not available in that, in our formula. And that is true. We did not create provision for 3, for criteria 3. It's only for 5 and 4. So that's why it is showing an NA. So if I do this down, if I wrote this down now, you see the ones that are numbered, it has changed them to 0, and then we have this result. So there is also if error too. If error is also the same thing. Say if error always shows when you divide. So let me say I'm trying to divide 0 divided by 5. I think this is going to give an error. No, okay. Let me see. 5 divided by 0. Okay, this number is not divisible. It's not divisible. You can't divide 5 divided by 0 is not divisible. And we are having this error. So if I want to cater for this error now, what I'm going to, this is an error code. If you check it, it's going to state the error. The formula of function used is dividing by 0 or empty cell. So in order to cater for this, I'll just write an if error. So if error, the actual value, which is 5 divided by 0, and the value if there's an error. Maybe I want to write not divisible. So instead of imputing an error, it's going to write non-divisible. Assuming I don't want non-divisible, if I want 0, probably so that I'll be able to add it up. Instead of text, I'm going to write a 0, such that if there's an error, it's just going to return a 0 instead of that error, which will allow me to add up whatever I want to add up. If it is that error that is showing, I won't be able to add it up in the first place. But because I've created, they call it error handling, I've been able to handle the error to create like something to handle the error. So anytime it shows that error, that is, so the way if error and if any works is that, so the first thing is type your normal formula, the actual formula you want to use. In this case, it's not only limited to if statements, it could be any statement, it could be sum, it could be left and right range, or whatever it is. After you've written all of those formula, you now put a caveat here, that is, you now use your if error. So you copy that formula, and then that is, you copy the actual formula that you are using. For example, let me go back to, let me turn this back to what it was the other time. Yep. So this NA now. So you copy the actual formula, you cut it before the equals to, then you now write an if error or if NA, and then the actual value that is supposed to be, the actual value is going to be that actual formula. No matter how long the formula is, just paste. That's why I said that do the normal formula first, then cut it, then paste it as the value, then comma, if there's an error, 0. And then you have it handled. If error, we actually undo any of it. It's going to handle either if error or if NA. If error, we handle it perfectly. So that is error handling. That is what it is for. Did we get this, please? I want to be sure we got this. If you are struggling to understand this, raise your hand. If you got it very well, raise your hand.
I think the if error is clear, but I think there was something there was somewhere you were driving at before you bring in if error function.
I was talking about if NA.
Okay, yes.
If NA and if error.
Yeah.
Yes. That's what I was talking about. So yeah, I'm trying to see. Okay. Maybe I'm just going to drop this as an extra exercise that we can do. Yes, this is just practice exercise. I think I'm just, okay, I'll just drop this particular one. Yes. In our next class, we are going to start, I want us to just go over this personally. I don't want to mumble up VLOOKUP with what we've done today. So in our next class on Sunday evening, we are going to move to VLOOKUP, XLOOKUP, HLOOKUP, maybe match and index too, although XLOOKUP already covers for it, but you can also check match and index. So prepare for that in the next class. I'm going to drop this practice. I'm going to drop all of these sheets on the group for us to practice with. And or another thing I can actually do is just drop. I can drop the whole exercise, like the whole compressed sheets. So what you are going to look for is Excel intermediates, because the course is actually coming. Okay, yeah. What you are going to look for is Excel intermediates inside the file. Go for Excel intermediates, and then the instructor file, go to section 3. Section 3 is where we have all the ifs condition. And then under the exercise file, exercise 1 is where we have the if condition exercise. So you can just check it out. I'm going to drop the compressed. Do we know how to uncompress a file? Because the file I want to drop is the compressed file. Do we know how to uncompress a file?
It's not to unzip, just to. It's
yes,
not
unzip. Yes, unzip.
Rare.
Yes. Normal WinRAR or normal on your laptop, you would actually see, if you are using a laptop, you would be able to unzip it. So I'm going to drop the zipped file, then we can unzip it, and then we can unzip it. Let me zip it. So press. Okay, because the file is open, let me close all the files. Okay. Okay. Okay, plus 2. Okay. Yeah, so if you just click extractor, it's going to extract the file. So I'm going to drop it on the WhatsApp group. I'm going to drop it on the WhatsApp group now. Trying to access some. Okay, I want to stop. Okay, stop sharing. So I'm going to. I'm going to drop it on. Where's the file? I am going to drop it as the documents. Am I still audible? Am I still in this class?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Thank you. Okay. So I have dropped the file on the group. I've dropped the file on the group so we can all just check it out. We can all just check it out. Is there any question? Any question? Any question? Any question? Okay, no question. No question. So the core thing about some of these things is sometimes when you are watching it, it looks very easy and simple. Recap of today, you most likely have to watch you most likely have to watch the recording, please. If you watch the recording, you see the whole recap because this actual class is actually a recap class on its own. So the core goal of this is you actually have to practice. If you don't practice, you actually think you know it until probably you start practicing. That is when you see that, oh, I misplaced putting maybe an absolute reference somewhere, or I did not use the right function, or I'm having an error. It is when you practice, that is when you actually see some of these errors. But if you don't practice and you are just thinking, okay, I know this thing of just watching this screen, you will think you know it until you actually watch it yourself. Like, I mean, until you actually practice yourself. So try to practice. If possible, you can just search and look for practice exercise. Maybe practice exercise on logical statements, practice exercise on whatever we've done before. You would see as much as possible practice exercise that you can work with. Or you can even tell ChatGPT to generate data for you that you can use to practice a particular segment of the class. So on Sunday, we are going to move to lookup functions. So on Sunday, we'll be getting there. All right. If there's no question, for anyone that has question, you can always go to Adenika will upload the video. She will upload the video and then we can check it out and we watch the recap. This is actually a recap class on its own. So we can now watch the recap of this class and then practice with the data I gave out. All right. Thank you, everyone, for joining today's class. I think this is where we say good night. Good night, everyone. We'll see you on Sunday.